Okay, good. I'm calling the planning and zoning meeting of April the 3rd, 2014 to order, please. If you would please silence your cell phones, pagers, or whatever other communication that you might have. That would be much helpful. Do we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer afterwards? I pledge allegiance to
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all.
Lord, we pause right now to thank you for who you are, Lord, and for what you do. And we would ask for guidance and wisdom and just to be calm tonight and go through things like we know we ought to. And thank you for your blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Ms. Haney?
Mr. Chairman, the Thursday, April 3rd, 2014, 6 o'clock p.m. Planning and Zoning Board public hearing, regular meeting was advertised in the Herald Advocate on March 13th, 2014, and we have affidavit of publication on record. Mr. Chairman, courtesy notices were mailed to adjoining property owners per the provisions of the Hardy County Unified Land Development Code. Public notices and the properties for rezoning were posted. Have any members had any communication? Let me read this so I'll say it right. Have any planning and zoning board members received any oral or written communications regarding the land use item to be discussed? If so, please disclose the substance of the communication and identify the person making the communication. Mr. Chansey?
I had a couple questions from Mr. Kirkland and Mr. Coleman regarding zoning districts.
Those were general questions,
Yes.
sir? Thank you. Mr. Chairman?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a quasi-judicial proceeding, and any decision of the board must be supported by substantial and competent evidence. In rendering its decision to the board shall rely solely upon that testimony which is relevant and material, and any testimony given in the form of an opinion will not be relied upon unless given by a qualified witness. You shall have the right to give testimony and to present evidence and witnesses. The applicant, the board, and any interested person shall be given an opportunity to ask questions of any witness. Any person that wishes to testify shall be administered an oath to swear or affirm to tell the truth. At this time, if there is anyone who wishes to speak before the board, please rise for the administration of oath and raise your right hand.
Do you affirm that the testimony you'll give in these proceedings is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Be seated.
Let's see, board members, I'd like someone to present a motion for the approval of the minutes of the March 6th, 14 regular meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Gordon and have a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of 3/6/14 as printed and mailed. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Also, I need a motion for the approval of the minutes of 3/11/14 workshop.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as mailed.
I'll second it.
Second. Third.
All right, have approval, motion for the approval of the minutes of the 3/11/14 workshop as printed and mailed. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. The first item, which is a temporary special use permit, it's agenda number 14-08. Ephraim and Dolores Carrillo as property owners and applicants by and through the authorized representative request approval of a temporary special use permit on 3+ acres, zone A1 agriculture in the agriculture future land use district, temporarily locate a second dwelling in the form of a manufactured home, mobile home, so the daughter, Jessica Aviles, can care for the parents, property owners, applicants, Carrillo. The request also asks that when the need for the TSUP ceases, instead of the customary required removal of the temporary located manufactured home, the home will be the result of one dwelling on the parcel. Owners will be allowed to demolish the existing old house that's on the property instead of the customary required removal of the temporary easement. The parcel is on or about 4212 Nursery Road, Hardee County. Purpose of this public hearing is to hear the request, receive the public input, and offer recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, Planning and Development Director Denny has asked me to present to you agenda item 1408. First of all, let me tell you that we need to make a correction. The word house should be struck and replaced with the word mobile home in the staff report and in any motion that you make. It turns out that the dwelling that exists there now is a mobile home and not a house.
So it's the existing old
It's an existing old mobile home.
mobile home.
Yes, sir. You all have a copy of the staff's report that identifies the need for the temporary special use permit. The chairman has told you we're speaking of 3 acres A1 zoning in the agricultural future land use at the end of Nursery Road. Parcel does have one single-family dwelling, which, as we just discussed, is an old mobile home or manufactured home. The temporary special use permit, if it's granted, the temporary unit will utilize the existing access and ingress from Nursery Road, will have its own septic tank and drain field, and according to the county's regulations, may share a potable water well with the existing dwelling. The property owners have asked that when the need ceases, that instead of being required to remove the temporary mobile home for the daughter, Jessica Aviles, they would like permission to remove the existing house or existing mobile home because it is of an older nature than what the daughter will put there. The Planning and Development Department is recommending approval because the proposed project is consistent with the Hardee County Comprehensive Plan as well as the Hardee County Unified Land Development Code, and granting this temporary special use permit is not contrary to public interest, health, and welfare. Notice that it's A1 zoning and only 3 acres, but it is a lot of record and it is entitled, the parcel is entitled to this application. If you'll notice from your staff report, there are conditions. You will be reminded, as we discussed at last public hearing, that temporary special use permits are granted initially for a period of 2 years. From that time forth, if the need continues, every 6 months with a $50 application renewal fee, the temporary special use is considered for renewal. Once the need no longer exists, in this case, the applicants are asking if the existing old mobile home may be the one to be removed as opposed to the daughter's mobile home. With that information, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record as well as my testimony, and I'll stand for any questions.
Ms. BJ, so then on where it says recommended approval in the motion,
Yes, sir.
it says a manufactured home or mobile home dwelling on 13 plus or minus acres.
Make sure that you notice that is.
Is only 3 acres.
You make sure you notice that is a typo, thank you.
Okay, so, but it is 3 acres in A1, but it is a lot of record.
Yes, sir.
One other just quick question. I know we've done these over the years, but just for legalities, Is this the only formal document that there is? Meaning, when the need no longer serves, do they have to sign another piece of paper?
No, sir, it's really kind of open-ended. The Board of County Commissioners has been relatively lenient on these temporary special use permits because generally speaking, there is a medical, physical, or emotional need, financial need that folks are facing. And what we do is our office sends a letter of reminder that as long as the need is continues, that it's time for the application for the renewal. Generally, our office makes a phone call and tries to determine that the need continues.
But there's no other legal document, it's just this motion.
There will be a record of decision filed with the clerk of court that would reflect the Board of County Commissioners' action once they hear this request.
Well, I mean, there's just some things going on with this, other things on other issues about people that were here 8, 10, 12, 20 years ago. So, but that's the only place that y'all could, another staff member could go back and pull a record of decision from the clerk of courts to see that one of these residences has to go.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
How do we know that there's an actual special need?
We only take their word for it. And both these folks, I've seen them and they're elderly.
Ms. Haney, which is going to occur first, the demolishing or the moving on the new?
They'll move the daughter's mobile home onto the property if this is approved. And the parents will continue to live in the existing mobile home because that's where they live. That's their homestead.
So there'll be 2 mobile homes.
There'll be 2 mobile homes. And then when the need no longer exists, then the request has been that the single-family old mobile home be the one that's removed and not the daughter's. Because, you know, you have your applicant property owner, they may go to a nursing home, they may pass away, they may go live with another family member. There may be all kinds of reasons that they're not there anymore.
So the old house will be removed and
The new one can stay.
the new one will stay, but the older of the 2 will also be
As long
at
as
such time.
as long as the need is there,
Need's there.
there will be 2 dwellings on that parcel, yes, sir.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? I call for questions from the public. I don't see any.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
Recommend approval of agenda number 14, I think it's 8, to the Board of County Commissioners of a temporary special use permit to temporarily locate a second dwelling in the form of a manufactured home, mobile home dwelling on 3 plus or minus acres zoned A1 in the agricultural future land use district so that the daughter Jessica, and I'm sorry I marked through it, I can't see the last name, can care for the parents, properly owners, applicants, Carrillo. And is also recommended approval that the need for the temporary special use ceases when the property owners be allowed to demolish the existing old mobile home instead of the customary required removal of the temporarily located manufactured home or mobile home, with the result of 1 dwelling on the parcel based on the staff's report and recommended condition, staff's recommendations for approval and based on the testimony presented and the evidence received in the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a motion and a second for the recommended approval for the 14-08. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman, may I make another comment? As I mentioned to this board at its last meeting when we were looking at another temporary special use permit, we have 2 active temporary special use permits at this time, and the board has approved about 23 in the past, and they've all fallen in the category of doing right, being right, acting right. The two that are in existence now are still being active. The one that we just granted, that the Board of County Commissioners just granted today, that will be exercised as soon as the son is able to get his permits for his mobile home. So if this one is approved, we would have 4 active temporary special use permits across the county at this time.
Okay. Good information. Okay, we voted the Board of County Commissioners to hold a public hearing and receive a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Board on Thursday, April the 24th, 2014, 6:05 p.m. or as soon thereafter in the Hardy County Civic Center, 515 Civic Center Drive, Waukegan, Florida. Okay, the next one is a rezoning, ordinance number 2014-05, which is agenda number 1401. I will state that I'm going to not vote on this one. To pass. Working with the IDA, so I'll still run the meeting, but I'll not be voting on this one. I have signed the forms and have, Ms. BJ has those in her possession. Agenda number 14-01, Hardy County Industrial Development Authority by and through the authorized representative requests a approval of a rezoning to the CIBC, Commercial Industrial Business Center of 85.6 plus acres from FR to farm residential and 18.54 plus acres from R3 multiple family residential in the highway mixed use future land use. Parcels to be considered for rezoning are situated south of Commerce Court, north and northeast of Old Bradenton Road, east of Mott Road, and east of Osprey Lane. The purpose of this public hearing is to hear the request, receive public input, and to offer a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. PJ? Oh,
Mr. Chairman.
Kevin, you want to, okay?
Yes, sir. Kevin Denny, Director of Planning and Development. This is an applicant-initiated request to rezone 4 parcels for the expansion of the existing Commerce Park. As the Chair mentioned, this is 85.6 acres going from farm residential to CIBC and 18.54 acres for multifamily residential R3 through the Commercial Industrial Business Park. All parcels are located in the highway mixed-use future land use category, meaning that the requested rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Parcels are located adjacent to the existing Commerce Park to the north. Southern boundaries are Old Bradenton Road and Mott Road. Our standards of review. And per ULDC section 7.04, we have standards of review or criteria by which rezonings are evaluated. The primary standards are consistency with the comp plan. And we have detailed on page 4 of your staff report some of the relevant comprehensive plan policies. Policy L1.3 is the mixed land use category, and it details that industrial development is permissible. At the bottom of that paragraph, you'll notice that it said shall not exceed 15% of the total area of a highway mixed use area. If with this proposal, it would be 11% of the area. Policy L2.1, development of residential, commercial, industrial land shall be timed and staged in conjunction with the provision of supporting public infrastructure facilities such as roads, potable water, sewage disposal, solid waste disposal, recreational facilities, and drainage and stormwater management systems. Such facilities shall be maintained at their established level of service. This will be the case for all facilities, and we've given you a detailed analysis of level of service on starting on page 6. Is that better, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay,
Fred, the people in the back can't hear.
all right.
Grady, can you hear? Hear it okay? All right.
We also have a policy we want to mention of policy E 3.4 out of the economic development element. The county, in conjunction with the private sector, shall assist when possible in the recruitment of adequate industrial sites to ensure there is sufficient industrial land with proper land use and zoning designations and adequate infrastructure for future development, including industrial parks and business campuses. This is specific to an industrial park. It is in preparation for the eventual expansion of the existing Commerce Park to the north. The existing park is over 50% built or has commitments to build per the applicant. In our concurrency analysis, starting on page 6, we've given you details on transportation, water, sewer, solid waste. I'm going to let the applicant address stormwater. Transportation facilities, we've reviewed potential impacts on US 17, Gebhardt Road, Old Bradenton Road, State Road 62, Mott Road, and Rainy Road. We've done the southern roads because there is potential access to the local roads to the south, being Old Bradenton, Rainy, and Mott. Based on potential impacts, all roads have a passing level of service with no problems. Water, the project actually creates less water demand than current zoning if built at maximum densities. Same goes with sewer. Solid waste, we have the capacity to serve the development based on the projections. Wanted to also discuss some of the impact and compatibility standards. On J on page 13, whether the detrimental impacts of any identified compatibilities can be mitigated or eliminated by adequate buffering. There are potential compatibility issues anytime you have non-residential and residential uses abutting one another. However, well, we already addressed this through the buffering standards in our code. That would require our highest buffer level, a buffer type D. If the board felt that there were additional issues with buffering or incompatibility, you can place additional conditions on this. Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to have the applicant come up and give their presentation.
Okay.
Can I stand here?
Yeah. Just put that up there.
Please state your name and
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Brian Hunter with Hunter Engineering.
you're gonna have to speak up.
I may need a taller mic here. I could speak up. Can you?
Is it working?
I'll speak up. Okay.
Take the mic up.
You
Can I'll hold it and walk around. I'll make sure you're hearing me. I have an exhibit here. I'd like to have it close to me so I can point to things. That's okay. Does this work for you guys?
Perfectly fine. May not be good for the cameraman, but that's,
Well, I'll try to accommodate everybody here.
Is that the same thing as this?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But I want to, maybe as I go, I'll be pointing to things, so it may be easier if you've got a handout with you, and I can point as well to the big drawing. Okay?
Better for the videos if you could put that over there.
Well, then I'd have to go. I don't really care, but
You can carry the microphone around.
yeah. Well, I've got some exhibits here too. We've got handouts, so.
They had the podium over here before the effort work for you and
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to make this go well. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Get this video.
we can deal with what he has there.
Yeah.
Sunny.
Brian Hunter. I'm president of Hunter Engineering, and
Your address, please.
my address is 855 Twin Oaks Lane, Winter Haven, Florida.
Thank you.
Okay. I am a professional engineer registered in the state of Florida and Alabama. We've been practicing civil engineering for 14 years, started our business in 1999. I had the good pleasure in the late 90s and early 2000s to be the county engineer here in Hardy County. Some of the best professional years of my life. I had the good fortune to be the engineer who designed the original Commerce Park, so it's familiar to me, and I've worked with some of you in the past. This is, it's our second go-around here, and things didn't go too well the first time, and we didn't get a favorable recommendation. I think a lot of that's because we didn't give you enough information, at least I hope so. So I think Kevin...
Is that what, Brad?
This is our second go-around, and we didn't get a favorable recommendation the first time. Part of the problem, I'll take credit for, is we probably didn't give you enough information, didn't fully estimate the interest that was here. So we can give you a little bit more information now, and we're here to answer all your questions. That's why we're here. So I think Kevin did a good job. I think if you read his staff report, it's pretty detailed. He summarized a few of the high points for you. We're going to hit on at least 3 other keys that I think are important. We're going to look at the site plan because I don't think you got a good look at the site plan last time. I want to show you what's conceptualized now. I know this project's going to, if it's successful and we move forward, it's going to have to come back to you ultimately for site plan approval. But it may help you now to kind of see what we're proposing, see what we're conceptualizing, and maybe that'll help a little bit. And I want to show you there was a little bit of different concept the first time.
If there are some questions in Spanish that you might need to do that. The second is I graduated from, I do have a business and real estate degree from school that's currently playing better football than basketball. I hate to bring that up because people that play in basketball now even wonder whether or not we can read and write, much less opine on the compatibility of this project. I have been asked by the IDA to examine the proposed addition to the Hardy Commerce Park. Additionally, I was engaged to perform a study and ultimately opine as to the impact, if any, the expansion of the park would have on surrounding property values. To that end, and for that purpose, I viewed the facility last month, both the existing and the proposed section, as well as all of the surrounding areas. Quite frankly, I was amazed at the success of the park in light of the state's worst economic downturn in decades. The existing park is composed of 23 lots, as you know, all but 2 are developed with ongoing businesses. The IDA is currently working on the construction of 2 additional buildings, 20,000 and 80,000 square foot respectively. The park occupants are varied. They offer a wide variety of employment opportunities for the local community. In my analysis, I considered several factors, 3 of which were paramount in my decision. First of all, I considered the type and condition of the existing park. This Commerce Park is what we would term a mid-level industrial development, which attracts a wide variety of small to mid-sized enterprises, and it would include the likes of light manufacturing, commercial endeavors, medical service, product distribution, logical support systems. Its central location and access to interstate highways is essential to its success. The park appears to be well planned with all buildings and improvements showing good maintenance and excellent grounds upkeep. The adjoining property uses are mostly rural, agricultural. There is some multifamily, school, commercial, and low to mid, what we would term low to mid price single family homes. The park appears to currently blend well with its surrounding uses. Next, I examined the potential adverse effects created by the possible expansion of the park. In this case, the best example of how the expansion will impact the area is by examining the physical characteristics of the existing park, since it will, in essence, mirror the existing park. The subject has been in place for 10 years. The improvements within the park appear to be well maintained, average to good quality of construction. The buildings are well buffered, and all the sites appear to clean and orderly. In my opinion, the current facility has little to no negative impact on surrounding areas. As for the proposed expansion, the greatest potential for adverse impact is to nearby residential development. Only the market can dictate what type of enterprise would purchase a site and operate within the park. However, the IDA has final approval, along with planning and zoning, on any new buyer for the proposed facility. And I'd say, given the manner in which they have managed the existing development, one must assume that any further expansion would contain the necessary buffering and restrictions needed to maintain the same quality level of the park and protect the serenity of the neighboring uses. In other words, there's no reason to believe that the expansion would act any different than the current section. It is my opinion that there would be no negative effects to the surrounding residential uses. There are some real positive impacts that you have to consider. The success of the park has increased awareness of the area by bringing new industries to Hardee County. The jobs created by these businesses is the first step in what we call a multiplier effect that brings with it the need for additional housing, as well as support services such as shopping, medical, recreational facilities. This can only be viewed as a positive influence on the area that is less than 25% developed. This brings us back to the proposed expansion. The 23 lots within the existing park will ultimately employ approximately 150 individuals. These are all types of jobs, which include executive, clerical, and manufacturing positions. The proposed addition will accommodate an additional 20 lots, and when completed and operational, will employ an additional 300 individuals, for a total of approximately 350 to 450 positions that would not otherwise be available to the Hardee County workforce. This does not include the increased demand for construction activities and more neighborhood shopping. Add to that medical and retail jobs, and you will begin to appreciate the multiplier effect of the expansion. Just to bring this into perspective, currently, the Hardee County workforce consists of approximately 12,000 workers, with an unemployment rate of 6.6%, or approximately 790 workers that are out of jobs. If the expansion is allowed to move forward, it would have a positive impact on the overall unemployment rate for the area. In essence, the addition of approximately 300 jobs would cut the unemployment rate in half. In conclusion, my opinion is as follows. This park has been a tremendous success for the county. The quality of industry and improvements in the park is excellent. The facility is well maintained, and controlling development by the way of deed restrictions and ordinances will assure the necessary aesthetic buffering for the future expansion, thereby protecting its neighbors. A well-managed expansion of the development can only bring positive results. New jobs that would not otherwise be available will be created. Continued success of this facility should be expected during the coming years. Finally, I would point out that an addition of this magnitude will result in all type of construction projects, which will in turn show a dramatic increase in the ad valorem tax base, which will ultimately benefit all the county residents of Hardee. Stand for any questions.
I'm sorry, is your last name Carrillo?
Carrero,
Carrero,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. In your,
like the Porsche. Carrero.
gotcha, I can remember that now. You said you were a general contractor and I think real estate appraiser?
Yes, sir.
And basically what you've given is more of an economic situation.
I've been a realtor for 32 years.
Okay, are you a certified planner?
No, sir.
Thank you.
I guess this question from the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, yes.
if I'm just real quick,
Yes.
I just need to add the staff report to the record.
Oh,
So questions away.
Okay, let's get moving here. Regarding the park, I don't have any problem with the existing north half. There's one residence that's nearby and the apartments. There's nothing else even close except for the middle school. When this expansion comes through, now you're getting into much heavier residential and future residential areas. And I appreciate Hunter giving us this map because at our last planning and zoning meeting, we had nothing. Absolutely nothing. At the Board of County Commissioner meeting, there was not a map, there was nothing. So I at least thank you for presenting that. To staff, who,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
you don't need me up here anymore, do you?
I may have questions, but if you want to sit there.
We can call you, we can call you back,
Thank you.
not too far.
Who did the two staff reports? The one from 2 months ago and then the recent one?
It was a combination of staff.
Okay, under the CIBC, all right, basically, you're figuring the square footage. We've lost 1,200,000 square foot of proposed building and 8,000 trips. That's 50%. Now, which staff report am I supposed to believe?
There is a site-specific policy, L 8.1.6, that limits this particular part of the park to 0.5.
Okay.
We missed that in the first staff report. We used a FAR of 1.
Okay. So we missed that in the first staff report.
Yes, sir.
Okay, level of service on the roads. Specifically, State Road 62.
Right?
I got alphabet numbers jumping all over the road. I've got B, C, and D. Which one is it? Because I got one staff report that says one thing, and another on another.
What page are you on, Mr. Chancey?
I'm trying to find it myself. Here, one second.
Mr. Chancey, you in the old or new?
Well, I'm trying to do both because
That's me, I'm trying to.
there's one different in each one.
Is the new one revised? Is that,
Yes, sir. I didn't bring the old one.
why would you go back to the old one?
Because it was given to us as a staff report 2 months ago. Now, why has it changed?
Well, they revised it, I would say.
Why did they revise it?
You'll have to ask Kevin.
Okay. Also, while we're looking for that real quick,
Why did you revise it, Kevin? Can you answer that?
That particular issue, I don't know off the top of my head. I'll have to look at the old report.
I didn't see that much different.
so you don't think 8,000 traffic count a day is not
So
successful?
that's quite significant, I think.
Right, but that's due to the traffic or the site-specific policy.
The what?
There's a site-specific policy that relates to this particular piece of land,
Right?
and it only allows a FAR of 0.5, where a normal highway mixed use is a 1.0.
So,
So we revised it because we missed that policy the first time around.
what's that? Okay.
Okay. In the first one, on page 4, it says the rezoning request as proposed should not degrade the adopted level of service C, service level on State Road 62 and 17. And in the new one, it says State Road 62 has a functional classification of minor arterial and is a 30-foot wide paved 2-lane state mandatory or maintained roadway with a current operating level of service of B. How does the current level of service change from a B to a C? And now that's not a 0.5 change. That's
No.
a classification of what the road is. Then in the summary it says the rezoning request as proposed will not degrade the adopted level of service D service level on State Road 62. So I have a B, a
Right.
C, and a D.
The D is, it will not degrade to D. The B is operating.
So
It's
where does the
current
C come
operation.
from? Where does the C come from?
Joshua?
Where is it? I don't have my report. Read it again now. Where you get this thing?
Okay, in the old report,
What page?
page 4. The rezoning request as proposed should not degrade the adopted level of service C, service level on State Road 62 and US 17. And then in the summary on page 7 in the new one, it says the rezoning request as proposed will not degrade the adopted level of service D, service level on State Road 62, or level of service B on US 17. So even B on 17 is different than on what's on page 4. It's also a C.
Okay. Let me explain B. B is the adopted level of service for US 17 at this point.
At this point.
Yes, sir.
All right,
And-
now, okay, when you did your staff report 2 months ago, you said it was a level C.
They said it should not degrade the adopted level of service.
Right.
Yeah,
And it
it's a
says
different
for adopted level of service C.
No, it should not degrade below B, meaning a C, is what we were trying to say.
So you're saying it should stay a B.
Yes, sir.
So this is a English language thing,
Apparently.
okay? What about 62?
I'm sorry, could you explain your question on 62 again?
Well, again, I have one saying that it will not degrade to a level of C, if that's proper. And then in the current one, it says will not degrade to the adopted level of service D.
It is a level of service, adopted level of service C, and we're saying it will not degrade below C.
The comp plan requires D. That's why you mentioned.
Well, on the principal materials, it's C.
Because, I mean, I'm going from, like I said, I've got B, C, and D.
I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
I better be. On the traffic, I mean, a level of D, it has to be a level of D better, or it doesn't meet your comp plan.
Right.
So, right? So that's why that would be an important number to identify. There's so little traffic on 62 right now, and the way Kevin, operates a level of service B, you're in good shape. You know, you drive down 62 and sometimes you can't see any cars there, but what Kevin did in projecting the traffic, the numbers you have in your staff report, he took like the worst case scenario that would be allowed, and I understand why he did it, because that's the good thing to do, but I want you to understand where this is coming from. The worst case scenario that would be allowed, if we build out the maximum square footage in all of the lots in the industrial park, then you go to the ITE trip book, right? And you look in that book and you say, well, let's pick one industrial park, and you apply that trip to the maximum square footage allowed for every single lot, and you come up with this number that Kevin had for the proposed, and with that number, it's still level of service B. Reality is, I think, John, you may have to help me with it. John Schneider works with me, but we got a trip count, right? That's been out there a while. So we got about half the park operating right now, and it's generating less than 700 trips a day. That's like 1/10 of what ITE, the manual, his method would predict.
Right. So
So the reality is that number, and this is not theoretical data, it's better than that, it's empirical data. All right, so you can, if this park progressed the way, along the same trend as it has, then one way to look at it is you can look at worst case scenario and take the ITE trips, which is what Kevin did, which is what he should do, and look at the absolute worst case scenario in terms of square footage and apply a number to it, and even with that, level of service is okay. Reality is, we have data on what we've already built, which is so nice. And that's going to be, I think the multiplier is like, it's like 1/7 or something like that. Or no, it's more than that, but it's more than 1/10, but less than like 15%. And I'm sorry I can't give you the exact numbers. It's here before me, but John prepared this, and
Well, there was also a formula, the 40, 40, 15, and 5, I think. It was broken out on that. Have you or anybody from your office talked to DOT regarding the main entrance if you add this addition?
here's what we did, okay? There's a formula for left turn lanes. When we did this industrial park, 10 years ago. I remember the issue with the left turn lane.
Right.
Nick, you were there, okay? I think Gordon was there. We didn't want to spend the money for a left turn lane. Good gracious, how long is it going to be before trips are warranted? It's over $100,000, right? Design, construction, permitting. So the DOT allowed us to forego for now the turn lane because they recognize you're not going to warrant it day one. Who knows when you'll warrant it? But someday you could trip that threshold, and that threshold depends on primarily two things: oncoming, opposing traffic, which would be coming from the west to the east, right? And how many left turns during the peak hour are being made. So we went out recently and did our count. Let me go back. So DOT said, you don't have to put a turn lane in right now, but on this permit, there's a requirement that if one day, if you trip that threshold, you're gonna have to put it in. And they actually that's a recorded document.
Will this trip that?
No. Now, it could eventually, but today there's no trip and we're well below. The trips are 20, left-hand turns are 22. And with the current ongoing opposing traffic, it'd have to be 36. So that's 50% more, it'd have to take more than that.
That's the buildings that are there now.
That's right.
So if this is approved, whenever that trips to 36.
It's hard to say, but you have the fact. That's the facts. At some point in time, it's likely that that's going to trip.
And who pays for that?
Well, it'd be I don't know if there's grant money for that. I don't know the answer to that question.
Are you basing those numbers on total build out? All these I see in the staff report?
That's staff.
Kevin's staff report based that on total, worst case scenario, total build out.
Total build out, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Total build out and what I would consider worst case scenario and pulling the numbers out, because as I said, the actual trend is the traffic is much less than what the manual, the IT, Institute of Traffic Engineers manual, projects. So, we're good shape right now on the left-hand turn lane. There's a provision in place that's already been established with DOT. Your question was, have you talked to DOT? That says it's in place now so that at a point in time, if it's triggered, and this isn't something that slips up on you, it's going to grow. We've got all the businesses in there already, and the traffic's gradually, you'll be able to see it coming.
I believe the document says the IDA will design, permit, construct the left-hand turn lane when it is triggered.
But who pays for it? I don't know how the economics work there, Don.
Not the county. Not the county.
The bottom line is
Normally the developer pays in this case, the IDA is the developer.
Right.
are the roads in good shape, and will this affect them adversely? Is that the bottom line?
Oh, the level of service, the level of service.
The level of service roads in Hardy County are D, not B or C.
Yeah, the state roads are in good shape. And so now,
Right.
you mentioned dividing up percentage-wise. Well, some of that was based on the possibility of connecting to other roads. But the concept is, we'll keep the ingress and egress to the park exactly as it is right now. And I don't know the exact count, but I would guess a big high percentage goes right up Commerce Court and out to 62. So, but I don't know how many go out Commerce Lane to Gephardt. There's going to be some, but I don't know what the percentage of that is, and probably none of the truck traffic.
Brian, do you know what the zoning, FR zoning is?
Me? Farm residential?
Yeah,
By name, yeah.
but do you know what it is?
Don, I couldn't speak intelligently about FR zoning. I mean, as far as what it allows and what it doesn't allow, and
Well, farm residential basically is a single-family residence that allows a minimum of 1 acre. It can go up, but it's a minimum of 1 acre. And we've always used it as a transition between R1 and A1. R1, you could have small residential lots as long as you had public water. And then, of course, A1 was the 5 acres. We needed a transition between that, and that's what FR is. FR allows single-family residence. Even to put a mobile home on it, it has to have Board of County Commissioner approval to put a mobile home on it. Nowhere, and it's even in the staff reports, when you abut Osprey and Falcon down here, you are now putting the heaviest use we have right up against basically a single-family classification. And it even says in the staff report that they're not alike. And even if you look at the table, I can't have businesses in FR and I can't have residential in the CIBC. Now, I know at the commission meeting, Commissioner Byrd said, oh, that's my district and I'm a quarter of a mile away. Plus, she also has a road that buffers her between the park. But on Falcon and Osprey, I can't remember which one it is, I think it's Falcon, maybe Osprey. The property line comes right up to those FR properties. And they're 1 acre or slightly under. Now, my major question.
Osprey is the road where they're close.
I'm sorry, what?
Osprey is the road where they're real close.
Okay. The zoning setback. You know what the zoning setback is?
Okay.
I'll help you out in the staff report. On page 11, under setbacks, FR zoning district, the rear is 25 feet. Under CIBC, rear setback is only 20 feet. So technically, a commercial building could be built if this is approved within 45 feet of the back wall of a residence. And I just think that's too close.
So what's the level of control beyond this? This is a zoning change, but obviously...
Yes, you said a mouthful. This is a zoning change, not a site development plan.
Right, yeah, so this is a zoning change, and
Right, but we
then, no, that's a good
take
question.
worst-case scenarios.
Yeah, it's a good, but, so, you can go down, and I think it's a good discussion. You can look at the existing park and you see where the buildings are built, and normally they're up front, right? Why? There's practical reasons, because you gotta run, it's expensive to build them in the back. You gotta run lines, electricity, water, sewer, lots of practical reasons, all you guys know. Makes sense to build a building in the front if you can. Is it possible to build it there? I suppose it is. You can look at the existing park and see what the trend is. But then also, and I'm asking this question just because we're trying to we all want to have something good here, right? The level of control, if something comes in, it still, depending on the use, still comes before. Not only does our site plan come before you, but the individual uses, depending on the use, comes before not only staff, but the planning and zoning board.
We're going to have a discussion later about that. Not everything comes before us, but we'll talk about that as a board on a separate issue. I don't want to cloud.
Okay, well, I don't know, that's my understanding, but and then also, there's buffering. So, yeah, it's a good question.
Well,
but it seems like, I don't know, we look at what's out there now and you weigh it against the jobs and everyone, no one wants to mess anybody's property up.
I have no problem, like I said, when I first started this statement with where the park is now, and there's nobody abutting that property at all. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But this expansion is getting into areas. I mean, personally, I rezoned 2 or 3 parcels in here to R3 for, again, residential uses for the water and sewer that was nearby. So the vision of housing is now being pushed with more commercial and industrial use because everybody wants the water and sewer. That's why the school's there. Everybody wanted the water and sewer.
Yeah, and then this isn't my expertise, but I know the housing follows the jobs.
Listen,
And
I'm all for jobs.
yeah.
But this board does not have anything to do with jobs. We do the ULDC and zoning only. The IDA and everybody else, that's their ballpark. I don't go messing in their ballpark, but this is my ballpark, the ULDC. Now, I've been dealing with this under the 7.04.05 finding and recommendation to approve a rezone. And if anybody wants to follow along, this is on page 3 of the new report. It says the Planning and Zoning Board may recommend approval of an application for a rezoning only when all of the following conditions are met. A, the proposed rezoning is consistent with the Hardee County Comprehensive Plan. B, the proposed rezoning will not degrade the level of service of one or more public facility and services or contain commitments to make improvements to maintain level of service established by the comprehensive plan. It does not increase the cost of improvement to the undertaken by the county as stated in the capital improvement element, and to me these next ones are the most important. The proposed rezoning and all permitted uses are compatible with development on surrounding property, or compatibility can be achieved by the imposition of conditions, buffers, or limitations on the uses within the zone which are specified in the Planning and Zoning Board's recommendation. By this analysis, the Planning and Zoning Board determines whether or not the proposed rezoning provides appropriate uses of the property. Well, if I'm not compatible and I have to determine every use today that's in the CIDC zoning, because everything is a potential. That means everything that's in this 2.209 table, we have to assume could be there. And in my opinion, this does not meet that level. It's not compatible.
What's the level of buffering?
Staff says it's compatible, and I believe it.
What's the level of buffering?
Well,
It's at
let's
20
talk
to
about
40
the
feet.
staff report.
Yeah.
In here, there's 4 paragraphs, and I'd like y'all to answer that question for me, but while we're talking about that, in here, this is a staff-written request, right? Staff wrote this?
Yes.
Okay.